So be sure to tell everyone there will always be different months to celebrate. This month's gonna be white history.
Yes, sir. We are live. Amazing. What's going on, guys? Oh, didn't want to do that. All right, guys, we're going to get right into it. How are you guys doing tonight? Hope your guys' day is amazing. No, mine's was. Happy Sunday. And more importantly, well, before we get into that, I want to say happy Sunday. This is July 2nd. We're about 2 days away from the 4th of July, America's birthday, contrary to what you want to hear. America was born in 1776, not in 16 whatever. Um, America is what gave. This was the time in 1776 where Judeo-Christian white men decided to break free from our independence from Great Britain, gave us our own independence. Many years later, we came up with the Constitution, which gave us the very freedoms that came from God and not the government, and so on and so on. So this this month, White History Month, really plays a pivotal role in the many other um events that other people tend to want to celebrate, if it wasn't for Judeo-Christian white men who fought for this country, who founded this country, fought for this country, and then instilled rights for all people to live within the confines of this country, we would not have in America. Keep in mind, America prior to white men founding the very country was occupied by Indians who sat on the land and did nothing with the land. Think about it. Indians that once lived on the land, they were lazy. I mean, they didn't transform the land. I mean, it was one America was one big old ghetto prior to white men coming in and colonizing what is now the greatest country on the planet. Not to mention, white men were colonizing countries all throughout the world, but the touches that they put on America, considering the potential that America had, it was immense. The Indians didn't transform it. They didn't do anything with it. They were all literally sitting. It was one big old marsh ghetto, and they were sitting around smoking peyote and doing their little dance and doing the hi hi dance. And they didn't create the very country that we live in, that we can consider a great country. All right. So the pilgrims came. Well, so when the pilgrims came in and fought the Indians for the land, they came in and they transpired they transformed it into a land that was livable. The main reason why we have the things that we have. There's a main reason why we have roads and buildings and everything else. There's the reason why there's an interstate and where we can use the interstate for commerce. All of this was created by Judeo-Christian white men that had this great country in mind to make it great for all occupants of this very country. All right. Also, White History Month was the very country. I'm sorry, White History Month. But also, it was white men that also abolished slavery. The very thing that many of the blacks, not all, but most blacks like to complain to other people that white people put them through. They abolished it, all right? Or at least they fought to abolish it. When they couldn't get the right ruling in 1861 to abolish it, then they went and fought for it. Union soldiers, particularly made of white men, went in to fight for the very right for the blacks to be free from a trade that was created by, wait for it, other black people. Where do you think the slave trade started? It started in Africa, where black people were sold off by other blacks. And then the white man came in, purchased the blacks, brought them to a great country that gave them the opportunity to live and live freely. And keep in mind, it weren't just white folks that owned slaves. I mean, there were many others that owned slaves, but it was the white man that actually took into consideration wanting to provide, a life for the blacks that would be suitable for them and their families. White Judeo-Christian men, they created the Constitution, the very Constitution that gives us life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, among with freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, the right to bear arms, the right to um, the right to our persons, papers, and effects from armed agents, the right to remain silent, the the right to remain silent, the right to have an attorney at hand. That's right. Yeah, the very the very right to remain silent, to not incriminate themselves at court. All of these things were made up by white men, Judeo-Christian white men. So contrary to how other people feel, white men made up the very country and that that we are being able to take advantage of comfortably. They were responsible for the resources that we now have in abundance. They were responsible for the convenience of being in this country, being able to take advantage of those resources. It was white men. So this whole idea that any other race contribute to the foundation of the very country that we live in is absolutely ludicrous. I'll you know I'll I'll take the fact that there were many races that took advantage of the opportunities that were presented, and they were able to contribute to it. But as far as the foundation, as far as laying down the foundation of the very country that we live in, as far as laying down the foundation of morals, religion, infrastructure, and laws, all of that came from Judeo-Christian white men. And the fact that people, especially particularly the blacks, would get offended by that, by the fact that they would get offended by the very fact that we all know is just astonishing. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's something that we all know. It's something that we all understand. But for some reason, nobody wants to give these white people their credit, their fair due. Instead, is multiple bashing about how racist they were towards towards the blacks and towards other races, which, by the way, no such thing as racism. But nobody wants to give white people their fair due. They give the blacks Black History Month. I mean, tell me how prevalent is Black History Month? Oh, amazing. Hold on, let me see 1 second. I'm so sorry. Deshaun, thank you so much for tuning in. Sean had a question. We are blacks, particularly pro blacks, telling the whole world blacks built this country. Do you believe that to be true? Absolutely not. I mean, I don't know where they get this idea that the blacks were the ones that built this country. Um, yes, there were white men that hired the blacks, to build, but keep in mind, well, hired them. They had to have the resources and the necessary means to do so. And they were able um to hire some of the blacks to to create the very buildings that the very federal buildings that people tend to live in. I mean, that people tend to frequent today. But if it wasn't for these white men that were able to provide the opportunity to do so, then it would have never happened. Um, bottom line, the bottom line is this. Um, there were many, there were many men, you know, whites, blacks that contributed into building, the very country that we live in. But keep in mind, it was the white men that gave the opportunity for these very buildings, the bridges, the interstates to be built. Judeo Christian white men. As a matter of fact, if you do not believe that to be true, okay, give okay, if you believe that not to be true, that's fine. Um, the demographic still shows that 69 the demographic mainly shows that 69% of whites live in America. So there's still a vast majority of white people that live in America. Let's have all the whites move out of America, and let's give the country to the blacks and to the blacks and the Hispanics. And let's see how the country will, will stay. Let's see how the country will wind up in 10 years. Should be a very, 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 very interesting thing. Seems every year Black History Month becomes less relevant. Well, of course. I mean, nobody really celebrates um black history as much. Yet if you were the one to actually speak against black history as of why it the as of why black history should be celebrated in the first place, then you will wind up being scrutinized by everyone. The blacks, uh liberal whites, and all of these other people who clearly are blind and cannot see. I mean, tell me something that that a black person was able to make or create that really contributed to the foundation of America. I mean, you we can name off several blacks that contributed to to the very opportunities that were presented to them. I mean, there's several blacks that were able to contribute to classic music, athletics, art. But keep in mind, these very things were created by white men. The opportunity to even create anything was created by Judeo-Christian white men that wanted to give everybody an opportunity to create and to earn. USA will look like Africa and Latin America clashing with one another. I'm telling you. As a matter of fact, I'll take it a step further. If you give America to the blacks, America will look like what South Africa was when all the whites moved out of there. Blacks looting, um, infrastructure failing. It's going to be hell on earth. I mean, you can already imagine. People can already imagine what an America will look like if there was just nothing but blacks living in that country. Look at the way that the blacks are behaving today. Living in a free country where they have the opportunity to earn, where they have the opportunity to flourish. Look at what they're doing. Even after giving them free stuff provided by the taxpayers, blacks are still taking it upon their hands to come and loot and steal from other private businesses, or they're looking to cheat the system so that they can be able to obtain more things. They're still wimping and whining complaining that they need reparations and to have the taxpayers foot the dime for that. America will literally look like a third world country. So that proves the point that America, without the without the contribution of the very white men that created the foundation that that makes America what it is today, without them there is no America. America will revert back to the way it was when the Indians occupied the area. Everybody wants to wimp and whine and complain that the Indians' land was taken. All lies all the time. All lies. America was not taken by the Indians. The Indians had to fight for that land. They had to fight. Nothing was taken, okay? They had to fight for the land and they lost. But again, they were able to occupy that land longer than anyone else. Why weren't they prepared? Because simple. They didn't have nor cared for the vision that that America would look like under the eyes of the white man. Like it or not, the white man contributed heavy to why the country has advanced technology, why the country has infrastructure, why the country has the type of education that it has. It's all through Judeo-Christian white men that had a vision that 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 they were able to put into motion to make America a livable country for all people that 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 were descendants of this very land. And did you know what the Judeo-Christian white man did? Even after they won the war with the Indians, they still gave the Indians their own reservation. They gave them their own place. It's not as if they kicked the Indians out. But what did and what did they do with that area? They turned it into a ghetto. So just goes to show you how useless the Indians were with the very land. They sat on the land for many, many, many years and did nothing with it. The white man saw the land and said, "Listen, we can turn this land into an amazing place where everybody will be able to live, where everybody will be given an opportunity to make something for themselves so that they can be able to occupy so they can be able to then obtain the very resources that they can have from this land through their hard work and through their labor." Amazing. Black folks here in California were doing everything they can to petition for reparations. It got the governor and he said no. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, Deshaun. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for bringing that up. That actually did happen. You know, Gavin Newsom is a part of the progressive group, and that man is very, very, very progressive. Uh, Gavin Newsom, along with many other Democrats, it's not mainly just him, but Gavin Newsom is the reason why California is a third world country. Well, I said third world country. It might as well better be a country at this point, right? Well, California is the reason why. Um, Gavin Newsom is the reason why California is a third world state. It is basically a state of the have and have nots. The average home in California, the average home in the worst area from what I gather was around $425,000. And that's in a home and that's and $425,000 let's say in Compton. Compton, California, and Deshaun, let me know if let me know if you can confirm this, but in Compton, California, the average home there goes for about $425,000. It gets you a home that's barely 2,000 square feet in a in a gang infested area. So it's basically in an unsafe area. $425,000. I mean, that is about about maybe 4 or 5 times more than what the average household brings in. Amazing. Gavin Newsom looking after himself. Well, of course, Gavin Newsom was looking after himself. But um, that is what America is. America is the land of opportunity. It is still the land of opportunity for and for the most part, you can be able sorry, you'll be able to make a very, very decent living if you're willing to work hard. Mainly, the main thing is if you're able to get a trade that is in demand, all right? Plumbing, electricity, contracting to put up sheet or construction, something that is in demand, something that can immediately get you a contract. If you're able to do that, you can make it in this country. And that opportunity was made by Judeo-Christian white men, like it or not. Born, raised, and live in California whole life. Sad to see how the state has become. Yeah, the state is unlivable. It's literally it is the state of the have and have nots. All right. Now, granted, it's kept in California, but there are other there are many states. I mean, there are other states in the West Coast that are like that. And California at one time was a state that allowed for everyone that was willing to work hard to be able to afford housing, um, where California would be able to get a decent wage, um, a decent home where you can be able to actually buy property at a reasonable price. Nowadays, the average home, the average home go in the worst area goes for about $425,000, and in a posh area, you know what I mean, in a suburban area. We're not even talking about the affluent area, but in a suburban area, the average home goes for $700,000. $700,000. That's more than 10 times what an average person would bring in. If the average male brings in about $45,000 and they have to purchase a home for $700,000, how can you live? How? But that's the way it is in the state of California. Oh, wait. 425K for a home. We're in California. Average home is about 735K. Okay. I was on realtor.com, and I happened to see a home in Compton, California for about $425,000. But that was about 3 years ago. So that may have changed. Yes, yes. But thank you. Average home is around $735,000. If you make $100,000 a year, and granted, everybody can't make $100,000 a year. All right. Men, about 10%. 10% of men make $100,000 a year. So making 100K is a rare feat. So you go from making a rare feat to now getting a home that's ultra rare. How is that American? It is not American. It is not American at all. But keep in mind that the point of me saying this is that this is the very thing that would happen if you put the blacks in control of America. If you don't believe that white men played no role in making America great, okay, we should ask all the white people to leave and just give America to the blacks. You'll see what type of country you'll have, and let's see what type of country you'll have in 10 years. Let all the whites leave and give the country to the blacks. Should be an amazing proposition. By the way, guys, did you notice my White History Month shirt? It's amazing. July just feels white. My White History Month shirt. Yes, I am repping White History Month. Finally, a month to actually look forward to. We had too much of so-called Pride Month, which celebrated perverted and deviant sex. That's what that time was for. All right, that's what that month was for. The whole month of June was to promote perverted and deviant sex by homosexuals. Amazing. That's the direction that America is headed into. They're headed into everything that the founding fathers didn't want at all. I mean, they would be rolling in their graves right now if they were to see what is being celebrated today. It's amazing. So yes, we had enough of so-called Pride Month. I mean, they literally they even have sabotaged the rainbow. The rainbow used to be something happy. It used to be something positive, but now the rainbow has been desecrated. Anytime you think of the rainbow, you think of perversion and deviant sex promoted by homosexuals and lesbians, homosexuals and lesbians. That's what Pride Month was all about. But they wanted to call it Pride rather than just calling it perverted and deviant sex by homosexuals. But you won't hear anything about White History Month. But I'm letting you know that White History Month is real. Look, check out my shirt. White History Month. July just feels white. Amazing. I'm not the only person that's celebrating White History Month. The founder of it, actually, Jesse Lee Peterson, is actually celebrating White History Month as well. He started back in 2017, and it's been going on 6 years plus. And trust me, White History Month is something that has to be celebrated, needs to be celebrated. White people need to stop being scared and actually stand in the forefront. The evangelicals, the white Judeo-Christian men, they need to stand up. We need these white men to stand up and take this country back, because our country right now is being hijacked by radicals, progressives, people who want a new world order, people that are either trying to rewrite or just completely dismantle the Constitution. And trust me, when that happens, it will be hell on earth for America. It will be a country that you will never ever want to live in ever again. And trust me, no state within this country will be safe. None. Not even the conservative states. This is the time. This is the time that we need to start elevating these white men. And I'm speaking to the white men because they still make up the vast majority of the demographic population in this country. I'm not speaking to the liberal whites that are confused and too blind and too stupid to know. I'm speaking about the clear-headed Judeo-Christian white men that are led by God, men that live in the world and not of it, men that deject the secular world. These men need to step up and take back the very country that was once theirs. We need to take our country back. These people have gone too far. They have gone too far with the jokes, too far. You have men pretending to be women and it's being promoted. Something like that. I never thought in my wildest dreams that something like that would ever be promoted in my lifetime. That, like confuse these type of people, we would try to convert them. We would tell them that they are weirdos, that something is wrong with them, and that they would need to be converted. But nowadays, we take abnormal as normal. Where have we gone? But this is what happens when we fall away from the very thing that made us great. And that was the guidance of God. Amazing stuff. It is amazing. But I came I'm 37 minutes into the show and I didn't even get a chance to broadcast the very things that I need you guys to do. For those of you that are tuning in, um I just need you to do a few things while you're viewing the show. The first thing I need you to do is I need you to hit the like button if you're tuning into the show. Okay, hit the like button because it helps promote the show. I believe that YouTube is trying to shadow ban me, considering the fact that I had plenty of views um, several months ago, and now my views are literally trickling down. So to help with the algorithm, I need you guys to hit the like button so that we will force YouTube into promoting the show and the channel. Also, leave a comment during and after the show because that is equivalent to hitting the like button. Again, it promotes the algorithm and it allows YouTube to have to promote the broadcast and the channel even if they don't want to. Because in the end, YouTube really does can't determine what they can and cannot promote. You people do. The more engagement that I'm able to raise upon my show, the more they will promote it. Same thing to also like the live stream. And if you guys want to join the show, give me 1 second here. That's not it. Don't this disregard that. If you guys want to join the show, I will copy the link. Sorry. Disregard that again. Sorry, I'm doing this live. Okay. Let's nope. No, that's not it. There we are. Okay. So if you want to join the show, the link is at the bottom. Okay. If you want to join the show, I'm not pressuring anybody to. I figured I would do I would do a monologue for a few more minutes before I decide to close the show. So, but yes, amazing stuff. And I will leave the link at the bottom right here. As a matter of fact, I'll leave the link in here, and I'll leave a link in the comment section as well, in the event that you guys want to join the show. Or you guys can sit back and hear me talk. Not a problem. Either or is okay with me. So, White History Month. Actually, if you guys want to join the show, I would like to know what do you guys think about White History Month? I would like to know your opinion. So if you like to, you can join the show and let me know, or you can leave a comment. But white men were responsible for the buildings that we live in, the bridges that we use to to come and go from work, the interstates that we also use as well, um, to get from point A to point B, whether it be commerce, whether it be visiting family or friends. They were responsible for the airplane, the vehicles that we drive. I mean, white men have contributed so much to making our lives a lot more convenient. And yet white people are being um shunned. They're being deemed racist and white supremacists, and it's almost as if everybody that is non-white can get away with calling white people all types of discriminatory names, but God forbid if a white person were to ever say that to a black person, which most whites don't even engage in that at all. But you hear all of this white bashing, that white people should have white guilt, that white people should just go away because they are contributing to to the mass killing of blacks. Last time I checked, blacks were leading in homicides, not just among themselves, but among other non-blacks than any other race. But because the blacks are allowed to hate white people, let's just allow the blacks to get away with blaming white people for the very carnage that they are causing. It's amazing. White people are being shunned for everything. White people are being shunned for promoting Christianity. They call Christianity hate speech. But keep in mind, when when the Constitution was made, I mean it was created by Judeo-Christian white men. And it's funny how America can be founded by these very men, and now today Christianity is something that is being shunned. They don't want you to speak about Christianity because Christianity will go against all of the secular things that they're promoting, such as so-called Pride Month. And honestly, people, we need to stop calling it Pride Month. It's really homosexual month. It's perverted and deviant homosexual month. Let's call it what it is. That's what's being promoted today because we've gotten away from the very thing that was once promoted by Judeo-Christian white men. But white people, this is your day. For the ones that love America, because keep in mind, white people are also being shunned for loving their country, calling themselves a nationalist would immediately And any white person that calls himself a nationalist is immediately deemed a white supremacist. That is amazing. That is just that is it's astonishing. I mean, it's unbelievable that a white person that loves their country, stands for their country, loves their country, will die for their country, it will be considered a white supremacist. This is the reason why white men who believe in this country need to start to stand up and speak out. Your silence is not helping the matter. You need to set these people straight. Tell these radicals to go sit down somewhere or get out. This is your country. You created this great country that we live in. Contrary to people's feelings, the truth of the matter is that white people created the greatest country on this planet, and they need to be praised, not scorned for it. Just think about this. If it wasn't for Judeo Christian white men, would you even have a Pride Month? Because keep in mind, the reason why homosexuals have rights is because of the Civil Rights Act that these very white men fought for. They fought for civil rights, and in the Civil Rights Act, not only did it give more rights to the blacks, as if they needed any more rights, because they already had the right. They already had the right to vote. They already had the right to be natural citizens. They had all of that. All right. That was in the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment gave them naturalization. The 15th Amendment gave them the right to vote. But not only did the Civil Rights Act give the blacks additional rights, but it also gave homosexuals the right to become homosexuals. So, and that was fought for by by white men. Now, whether or not they thought that fighting for homosexual rights would be something that would be um that would be productive to America, that's another conversation for another day. Um but if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have Pride Month. Here's my guy, Deshaun. I would love to a car engineer by a black man or live in a home designed by blacks, but it seems most blacks would rather take credit for other creations while at the same time cry racism. Isn't this amazing? This is coming from a black man. All right. Since everybody wants to make it all about race, this is coming from a black man. Yes, I would love to see I would love to see a car or or a home or anything of infrastructure that were built by the blacks, that the blacks constantly keep bragging about creating. As a matter of fact, let's take it a step further. Can anyone name one city that the blacks were able to take over and build, and everybody was dying to go there? Can anyone name that? I mean, can anybody name a city or a town, any area that the blacks took over, created all of the homes, all of the infrastructure, and everybody was dying to go there? Sorry, hold on, my guy. A nationalist is someone who is born and lives in the same country. I'm an American nationalist. So am I, Deshaun. So am I. I am a nationalist. That's the definition of a nationalist. Now, you call yourself a nationalist. I wonder what they will call you. But I'm sure because you're black, they wouldn't call you a supremacist for that. But that's the definition of a nationalist. I was born and raised in this country. And not only that, but I love my country. I love what the country has. I love the fact that we have the Constitution. I love the fact that we have freedom of speech. I love the fact that we can seek redress. I mean, that we can seek grievance from our government. That we can complain um to elected officials. We as constituents, we can seek our redress to the government about the very things that they are supposed to be doing for us without having to worry about being jailed or being killed for it. I love the fact that we can do that in our country. Try doing something like that in North Korea or in China or in Russia. Yeah, try speaking out against your government or Iran. Yeah, try speaking out against your government and watch what happens to you. Supremacy only seems to be tied to white races. You know, here's the thing. Here, let me just say something about that. And thank you for your comment, Deshaun. Let me just say something about these so-called white supremacists. Are there white supremacy groups? Yes. I'm sure there are white supremacy groups. Are these white supremacy groups affecting um, people in large numbers? Absolutely not. And if they are, show me the proof. Where is the proof? Show me the proof. I mean, hatred is something that is taught, right? And I'm sure, these so-called white supremacy groups, while they may feel they are superior to the blacks, the law doesn't doesn't make them try to apply that. And last time I checked, when was the last time that anyone has come across a Ku Klux Klan member or a skinhead? The vast majority of white people love all people. I'm sure there are whites that want to stay to themselves, or they want to stick with other whites. Okay, that's their right. That is their right. We live in America. We live in a free country where people can live freely and can make decisions freely. The thing about the whole argument about white supremacy, how white supremacy is taking over, and white supremacy this and white supremacy that. All these people that come up with these white supremacy talks can't name one single white supremacist that actually exists in the very system that they claim to exist in. They claim that white supremacy is taking over in the police force, yet not one single person can single out a white supremacist in the police force. So what are you doing? Are you just calling every single white person that is a police officer a white supremacist? Hmm. Shows you how many of the blacks are showing their true colors towards whites. And the truth of the matter is many blacks hate whites. Many of them. And that is a sad case. Pro blacks will say white supremacy is infuriating leadership in institutions such as exactly. They say the same thing time and time. It's the same talking point, and all they're doing is trying to get the blacks, the brainwashed blacks, angry at whites for no reason at all. But if you really think about what they're doing, these are the same people, right, that claim that they love black people and they want to do what's best for the blacks. Yet these are the very people that live among the affluent white people's neighborhoods. They won't even go into a vast I mean, they won't even go into a predominantly black neighborhood. These people will go behind I mean, these people will go into a white affluent gated community, go behind that community, and then say that white people are being racist to the blacks. I'm telling you, the irony of it all. These are also the same people that claim that the blacks should that the government shouldn't get rid of government or public housing for the blacks that live there. That they should create more public housing with your tax dollars so that the blacks can remain in that deplorable, despicable area because they don't want those blacks living in their area. God forbid if there was ever a proposal by their local government that would allow low income project housing to be built around their area. They will protest that until the cows come home. They don't want those blacks living in that area, but yet they want to keep the blacks in a low income area so that they can be so they can continue to allow self-destruction among the blacks within that area. And these are the same people that claim to love black people. You try you put two and two together and you let me know how these people truly feel about the blacks. These are the same people that will claim that black people are marginalized. Black people are marginalized. You're talking about the same black people that were born in this country that have the same natural rights as every other person in this country. These blacks are marginalized. Where do you come to a conclusion like that? The only way the blacks can be marginalized is if they make themselves marginalized. Nobody's holding the blacks back from being successful in this country. But these same so-called activists, these people who carry themselves as if they are God, the very people that want these brainwashed blacks to follow them as if they were running a cult, will tell another black person that they can't make it because they are black. Now, how do you think that person that made that statement feels about the blacks? You make a statement like that stating that black people can't make it because they're black. Yet yet that same black activist, all right? Let's take a Jesse Jackson, for example, or an Al Sharpton. These black activists would are would come on camera and say that black people can't make it because they're black, they're marginalized. We need to give them this, we need to give them that. And yet these are the same people that live in affluent neighborhoods that are predominantly white and are saying that the white man is the problem. But if you're doing well, then why can't the other black person do well? But for some reason, the brainwashed blacks and I understand why. The brainwashed blacks will never ever question that. They just go along with them because clearly black people have fallen away from God. They'll trust another human being before they will trust God. Amazing. The black leadership knows what they are doing, keeping ignorant minded blacks in the plantation mindset. Absolutely. Because it pays the bills. Because they can use their emotion to then exploit big companies into acquiring positions either for them or for people within their organization. This is what Jesse Jackson was able to do. Um, back then, he was able to get people within his organization top positions in major corporations. He would by weaponizing that these companies would be racist if they didn't. He was able to weaponize racism and say, well, you don't have enough black people in your company. So I have a solution. You hire these people within my organization, and if you don't, I have enough influence among most blacks to not only say that you are racist, but they will boycott your business and you will be out of business. So he was able to shake these corporations down the same way that the mafia would do when it came to shaking down corporations or other crime organizations. Amazing stuff. One time I made a rhetorical joke asking, is is the reason why I'm not a billionaire is because of white supremacy. Man, the response I got was a trip. Amazing, Deshaun. I'm telling you, sir. I am telling you. That is amazing. Asking the reason why I'm not a billionaire because of white supremacy. I'm telling you, you try to use the same thing against them, and they have and they really have no answer for it, or they'll try to, they'll try to circle the wagons and kind of beat around the bush when it comes to answering. Trying to give a direct answer to that because you really can't give a direct answer to it. Amazing stuff. It's amazing. And to be honest with you, the white liberals, all right? Not the I'm talking the white liberals, the ones that are just as bad as the radical blacks. The white liberals will come in and basically tell black people that they are nothing because they are black. That they are absolutely nothing because they are black. All right? Keep in mind the white liberals, the ones that are in the Democratic Party, which was a party of the Ku Klux Klan, the party that fought to keep slavery alive. That very party is where the white liberals will come around and tell the blacks that they are nothing because they are black. And then we'll turn around and say, well, we're helping them out by giving them programs. And the stupid blacks can't even see the fact that they are trying to keep them from obtaining wealth because there's no other wealth like your own. But if you depend on the government's wealth, well, guess what? The government's pie also has to be shared among other people who choose to live off the government. So how much are you really getting? There's a cap as far as how much you can earn if you allow the government to take care of you as opposed to you taking care of yourself. Now, now, if you sit back and you really think about this, these very white liberals that are claiming that they love the blacks and yet are telling them that the blacks need programs in order to make it because they can't do it on their own. Why in the world would these white liberals who claim that they love the blacks, why would they put a cap on their potential earning? Why would they do that if they truly, truly cared about the blacks? I'll tell you why. Because they don't. And also, they too can take advantage of their emotional being of being victims by telling them that they are victims. Because as long as they can get the vote and they can get in, then they can be able to take advantage of these people. Give me 1 second. Um, we're gonna go through a quick intermission. I'll be right back. All right, guys. Woo! Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. All right, I'm back. All right, amazing. Let's take care of something right there. Here is my guy, Deshaun. I recent time, I'm seeing videos of white liberals getting their wake up calls by black liberals. Scott Adams was right. Interesting. Very, 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 very interesting. You know, it's something when even black liberals have to when black liberals can actually see through what white liberals are trying to do. And keep in mind, these are the same white liberals that came from a party that that enacted slavery, that wanted slavery, that fought to keep slavery, hence the reason why they triggered the Civil War because they wanted to keep slavery. They wanted to keep the blacks enslaved. And and yet it is the same party that more than 90% of blacks vote for every single time during the election cycle. It's mind-boggling. It's astonishing. But I'm starting to see more blacks waking up to the fact. They're starting to see what the Democratic Party is all about. And the truth of the matter is that these were the people that would have destroyed America. White liberals that did not create the greatest country on the planet. It was Judeo-Christian white men. Some would refer to them as conservatives because they had a conservative mindset. It was about these men were religious. They knew what the country needed. They knew that the country would be able to advance, through through the teachings of Christianity. And because of that, that's the reason why the country was founded on great merit. And again, it was white men that were behind the scenes of that. So it doesn't really matter how you slice it or how you dice it. It was the white men that were innovative. They they introduced innovation. They introduced a way of living that everyone could be able to live on. I mean, when we talk about education, when we talk about education, infrastructure, jobs, all of that was created by white men. All right. Now you had black men that took advantage of that, but it was the white man that created it. I mean, I never voted seems to go crazy when elections come around or when a person ain't doing his or job. I never voted. Seems to go crazy when elections come around when a person ain't doing his or her job. Yeah, I think I think people should start to if you think for one moment that politics doesn't matter in this country, everything that we do is affected by politics. I don't care what it is that you do in your life. Everything is affected by politics. Where you live, where you where you work, how much you earn, the roads that you live on, um, the ordinances that are made, um, the way businesses are regulated. The way that you run your business, everything is ran by politics. So to think that people can just go around and not vote and not care. Now, if you're one of these people that are living well above what the average person is making, then by all means, politics more than likely won't affect you because it doesn't really matter if inflation is up 18%. Doesn't really matter if the interest rates are are going sky high. You will be you more likely you won't be affected as much because you have wealth in abundance. But what about the person that's counting every nickel and dime, which is mainly most of us, the very people that drive the economy. 52% of the very people in this country are middle class Americans. We we are the ones that are creating the suburbs. We are the main occupants of the suburbs. You take the middle class away, you won't see a suburbs. I mean, could you imagine the suburbs, what I mean, that were once occupied by people who owned their own property and their own land. Could you imagine all of that being replaced by low income housing owned by the government? Scary stuff, people. Scary stuff. It's scary stuff. Um, Now listen, I'll be honest. I never voted. Seems people lose their mind when elections come around, or when leaders do his or her job. Well, I'll tell you this though. Like I said, everything is affected by politics. You know, and if you think for one moment that it's not, have another thing coming. It's everything that you do is affected by politics. But I don't really want people to really focus on the federal elections because the federal elections is one thing. Um, I want people to really start focusing on the local governments. All right, your 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 mayors, your city councils. Um, you know, I think these people, if people can start focusing on the micro level, of government, then you can start focusing on the macro level. But I don't want, and also too, I don't want people to just vote for candidates just because they're Democrat and Republican. Because to be quite honest with you, you have Republicans too that are really more neoconservatives, meaning that they really support globalists and they actually get paid by the globalists. Um, Special interest donors, people who want their needs to be made, or people who want their needs met as opposed of the American people in whole. You guys need to start voting for people that are really for the people. And if you really want to know if they're for the people or not, right? It's also it's nice to know what they stand for, but you also want to know who is footing their bill. That is that alone is I mean, it's so I think that alone is more profound than anything else. Who is footing these politicians' contributions? Who is funding their campaigns? Because if they're taking money from if the vast majority of their money is coming from donors, from special interest donors, you already know who their alliance lays with. So it's very, very, very important to know who is funding these people. Because I can say right now, a lot of these politicians, you'll be lucky if 5% of their contributions actually come from the public. You'll be very, 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 very surprised to know that a lot of these politicians' political funds rarely come from the public. Because if it came from the public, then they would have to respond to the public. Amazing stuff, amazing stuff. Um, but White History Month. What do you guys think about White History Month? I mean, I would like to know. So you guys can leave a comment. Let me know what do you guys think about White History Month? Is it something? I mean, is it something that should be celebrated? Is it something that's needed? Not needed? You guys already know my opinion on this. With the simple fact that that America is willing to celebrate um, perverted and deviant sex among homosexuals. They're willing to celebrate Hispanic Month, Black History Month, Women's History Month. I mean, they celebrate all of these other events, but yet no praise for White History Month, but yet no praise from white people who created the greatest country on this planet that even allowed for these very months to even be celebrated in the first place. I mean, Women's History Month. What I mean, what type of contribution did women bring that will be of any relevance to the foundation of this country? Women's History Month. Make As it pertains to what? What have women contributed? Black History Month. Anything that Black Americans have contributed is a part of American history. This whole idea for the blacks to separate themselves from America while living in America is com- is asinine. If you people hate the country so much, then get out. And then third, everyone speaks about America being a racist country. Everyone speak well, not everyone, but the left, the loonies on the left claiming that America is such a racist country, yet we allow 100,000 illegal aliens to pour into our country illegally. I guess they didn't get the memo that America's a racist country. Amazing. But we need white men. Not just any white men. We need Judeo-Christian white men to take back this country. So, while I put out my call of action to all of the Judeo straight Christian white men, this is for you. Happy White History Month. Yes, there is a thing. I have the shirt. And you guys should be able to get the shirt as well. It is amazing. Here's my guys, Deshaun. The haters will never get out. No other place on earth will give them the freedom like they have in America. You know, Deshaun, that's a really really good point. Um, for instance, like take a look at the blacks. The blacks, most, not all, but most blacks wimp and whine and complain about how racist America is. That America's a racist country. They don't feel free in this country, and yet you couldn't pay the blacks to leave this country. If you gave the blacks $1 million, they will turn it down and basically say, I I I had a conversation, with one of the blacks about um about well, I had a conversation with one of the blacks that would complain about how racist the country is and how they treat blacks differently from everyone else and how much they hate this country. And I said, well, if you hate the country so much, why don't you people go back to Africa? And and then she got upset with me. She said, I can't go back to Africa because I don't know my roots there. Okay, but you call yourself African American. Right. So why don't you go back to Africa? Why don't you go back to the roots that you once claimed? I can't do that because I don't know my way. I don't know anything I don't know anything about Africa and and such and such and such. And I'm just saying to myself, okay, so you claim a country that you never lived in, that you were never born in, that you don't have any family, and yet you claim to be African American. You wimp and whine about how bad America is, but you're not willing to go back to your roots. You're not willing to go back to Africa. Why don't you go back? Oh, I can't do this, or they rip me away. Okay, we'll learn your roots. If people can learn a second language, you can learn your roots. You can pay these people to go back to Africa, but they complain about how bad America is. But see, that's the very right that we gave people. We gave them the right for freedom of speech, where you can whimp and whine and complain without being persecuted for it. It's amazing. But I wish we could charge people to talk, and maybe people wouldn't say such nonsense. It is amazing, guys. Well, White History Month is here, and it is here for the entire month of July. The entire month of July will be dedicated to White History Month. I will do my best to contribute to White History Month by putting out one prominent white figure every single day that made this country great, starting with the Great White Hope, Donald Trump. I will be making a video about Trump tomorrow, so be on the lookout for the Great White Hope, Donald Trump. as I put him in a view that I think most people will be able to appreciate, because the great white hope, Donald Trump, he was the only, I mean, well, I can't say he's the only. He is, no, 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 I can say this. He's the only president of this era that had America first policies. He was really the first president since Ronald Reagan to put in America first policies. Okay. America first policies. Not necessarily, I mean, not the things that we're doing right now, where we got into the Paris Climate Agreement, where we have to pay our fair share to reduce carbon, while the three countries that are the biggest polluters, China, Russia, and India, are not partaking in it. But yet we have to partake in it, and we're putting in billions of dollars of tax dollars to do so. All the billions of dollars that we sent to Ukraine. Under Donald Trump, that doesn't happen, because Trump would have made sure that Russia wouldn't even make the attempt to invade Ukraine. But now we're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, and for what? For a proxy war? I mean, I don't want to get too much into the war, but whatever Russia and Ukraine are doing has no relevance to United States of America. But it does have relevance to Joe Biden, considering the fact that Joe Biden, considering the fact that Joe Biden receives millions of dollars from from a Ukraine business that, that is illegally funded in, through the help of his son Hunter Biden. So Joe Biden is receiving millions of dollars under the table from Ukraine. So of course, Joe Biden has to feel obligated to then repay Ukraine back. The problem is he's doing it with our tax dollars. Again, putting American people dead last. I'm sorry, Deshaun. Let me get to your statement. Conservative, I'm going to make this statement that I feel is true. Most blacks live and need to be around white folks. 100%. White people were the innovators. White people created the very the very resources that we use every day, that provides convenience to us. Take your feelings out of it. This has nothing to do with your feelings. It has more to do with what's real. Stop worrying about how you feel and focus on what's real. And what's real is that white people, all right, mainly white men that had the intentions of making America a great convenient country, did that. And we, as American citizens, took advantage of that. And when people start to recognize that, then that's when we can get past all of this hatred that's being created out of thin air. I mean, think about it. Look at look at the tension between the blacks and the whites. Unnecessary. Why is it there? Because you have people who can't think for themselves. Mainly the blacks that can't think for themselves, and would believe a person who was flawed over something, over the very thing that made you great, which was being guided by God. Instead, you're allowing these so-called civil rights activists to speak on your behalf when you should be speaking on your own behalf. You're allowing these people to think for you when you should be thinking for yourselves. They're basically telling you that white people are the enemies and you believe it. White people made this country. As a matter of fact, white people took you out of for for some of the blacks that went through it. They took you out of captivity and put you in an area. I'm gonna put your ancestors in an area where they could be able to make a living. White men, Judeo-Christian white men, they did that. Most black liberals love and need to be around white people. And Deshaun, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this for sure. All right, I'll tell you this. I can tell you this for sure that um most of these black let's see, yeah, most of these black liberals don't really believe the stuff that they're saying. The whole idea that white people are racist and white people are the problems. These are the same these are the same black people that would not only live in the white neighborhoods, but they would have relations with these white people as well. For instance, look at Don Lemon, the guy that recently got that was recently terminated from CNN. Look at Don Lemon. Don Lemon, when he was on CNN, would talk about how racist white people were and how white people are a threat to the blacks and how they are responsible for the mass shootings and they're killing blacks and they're putting all these policies in to keep the black man down, and yet Don Lemon has a homosexual relationship with his so-called white husband. Tell me how that makes sense. He's claiming that white people are the enemy, and yet he's sleeping with the enemy. How does that work? Amazing stuff, right? Amazing stuff. But guys, this is what we're going through, okay? This is the reason why this is the reason why Judeo-Christian white men. This is your month. This is your month. Make it an opportunity for you to stand up to this nonsense and tell these people to go sit down somewhere or tell them to get out because at the rate that because of the rate of the illegal aliens that are pouring into this country, soon enough, the blacks will be replaced by these illegal aliens, and they will no longer have a voice. So, white men, this is your opportunity. Stand up for your country, or otherwise you will lose your country. But amazing stuff, amazing stuff. Thank you guys so much for tuning in into my show. I wish well, I wish all of you, all right, on behalf of the conservative, I wish all of you a happy and healthy and safe White History Month. And like I mentioned before, I will do my part in commemorating this month by putting out one video a day about a prominent white man that made this country great. Amazing stuff. Thank you guys for tuning in. Um, if you liked the the broadcast, you guys know what to do. Click the like button. All right. Leave a comment as well. All right. All of that works towards the algorithm. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And with that being said, this is the conservative, and I am signing out. Amazing, guys. Enjoy your night. Happy White History Month. Appreciate you guys. Amazing.
sure to tell everyone there will always be different months to celebrate. This month's gonna be White History.